You're now listening to From the Jump.
We're going to talk about King's Disease 3 and do an album reaction review of that, as well as discuss the controversial comments that 21 Savage made about Nas actually not being relevant anymore.
He's not relevant. He just has a loyal ass fan base.
Thank you.
He just has a loyal fan base that and he still make good ass music.
Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment below saying I subscribed, and we'll try our best to reply to your comment. Welcome to From the Jump, your source for all things hip-hop. I'm Syllable. This is my co-host,
Mr. White.
Let's just talk about Nas. 49 years old. God knows how much he's worth. A lot of money.
Yeah,
and the multi-millions. But he's still releasing albums like a freshman. He's still hungry, and he's still letting people know that he is relevant. And there's a lot of dope shit on here. But this is an interesting album in the fact that it stands alone with no features. Like in the previous King Disease stuff, we got like Lauryn Hill, we got like Eminem, EPMD. Like we got all these cool cats on there.
I mean, he was even putting young people on there.
Yeah, Little Dirt.
It was Don Toliver that he had on there.
Yeah,
and
Don
I really
Toliver.
like that song. But so he had some really new artists,
Yeah.
artists that you would not
Brand
expect
new.
to be on a Nas album, right? They're not from his era.
Yeah.
But on this project, he was like, nah, I'm just gonna do this all me. It was almost like, you know, when you sparring and you got the big training gloves on, and he was just like, oh, and you got the headgear on.
Yeah.
It's not a real fight shit. That's how he did with King's Disease 1.
Yeah.
I feel like KD3 is him like, all right, I warmed y'all up to the new Nas.
Yeah.
Let me really show you my full power type of thing.
Well, so actually, Hit Boy talked about why Nas didn't have any features on there, and he was like, Nas was saying basically he didn't feel anybody could punch above their weight to match him in skill and lyricism. So he's like, I'm not gonna feature anybody except for Hit Boy's 2-year-old son, who was on Once a Man, Twice a Child. So unless he's got like a following and a rap album, I think we can say there's no features.
He's starting on it for sure.
It's not the first time Nas has done this. You know, he had his Lost Tape album where he didn't have any features on this shit. Stillmatic, Nas raps on Got Yourself a Gun. My first album had no famous guest appearances. The outcome, I'm crowned the best lyricist.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about it on this project as well, where he was saying that it didn't take long for people to realize he was that great. In his first 2 projects, he was already critically acclaimed. So if you think about it, he wasn't like an artist that had to build up in the game. Like, you know, like a Tech 9, for instance. He dropped lots of music. Nobody knew who he was in the 90s. And then he kind of blew up when he got the Lil Wayne track. And he finally got his flowers and his just due. Whereas Nas was basically the golden child. Very
From
much
the
like,
beginning.
like a LeBron, where it was like they saw him coming out
From
of high
the start.
school. And he knew he was going to be great.
Or
But
Kobe. Yeah.
yeah, but you don't, exactly, like Kobe as well. But you don't know how great someone's going to be until they accomplish all this stuff.
Exactly.
And now we're at 4 albums in 2 years, and he's showing you why he was meant for greatness.
Well, he was talking about it on the Magic album. He was referencing KD3, be like, this is just to keep y'all warm. So over the track Ghetto Reporter, the audacity masterfully crafted these classics so naturally had to be nasty back at it. Off the song Done, he also has some dope lines. No beef with rivals. They play an ether on Tidal. Brothers can do anything when they decide to. And a Range Rover, dissecting bars from Takeover. It's crazy because when like Takeover, this shit is like an ether. This shit is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's referencing shit 2 decades ago. In this sparring back and forth between Nas and Jay-Z, Jay-Z's song Super Ugly, he said some shit so nasty to Nas, no pun intended, that Jay-Z's mother made Jay-Z jump on Hot 97 and apologize for this shit.
I don't know, Ether was pretty brutal. I mean, Nas's mom probably should have told him to apologize for that.
Like, Jay-Z admitted he took the L and that he
Definitely.
lost. He lost. Jay-Z was saying, Jay-Z's mom was like, no. Don't be saying that shit, son. You gotta apologize for that. So also Avathun, what I really like is the introspective viewpoint of society and about what it's like being young today. The future of our next generation ain't been established, conflicted by some of the same patterns that had us. Money and social status. Tell me what really matters. Who are you when they turn off the cameras? One thing I like about Nas, he ain't fronting. I mean, he has braggadocio, but he's really being himself. Like, he's through and through. You know Nas is Nas. And there's something
you
about
can tell that he thinks about the topics that he speaks on and he cares about it.
Yeah.
And he wants to put his resources, his time, and his energy behind it. For somebody that's that successful and has made it already, you know, we talked about that situation where it seems like Jay-Z's becoming more like Nas. He's talking more about socially conscious things. That's always been Nas's MO, to come to the table with this street poet type of mentality where he's like, this is what I'm doing, but I really hope in the future I could do more. And now that he is able to do more, he's reflecting on what he's seen already and trying to show people a better way before they get to the point where they're dead or in jail. He's saying, you don't even have to take this path. I already took it for you. Like almost like, you know, a Jesus Christ type of thing.
Oh, well, also like in a Nipsey Hussle kind of Black Panther of rappers way. Right? He comes through like, these are the life lessons, don't fuck it up. Right. Which is interesting is that also the song is sampling KRS-One's The Bridge Is Over, right, with Scholar Rock. And I thought it was a dope homage to like some of the greats in hip hop.
Yeah, definitely.
Another song that I really loved, you just listening to it and the line catches you, is Hood to Hood, right? And you got this bright synth sound talking about bringing communities together, and Nas is rapping, I'm just doing other shit, and then I catch the line and I'm like, oh shit. And Nas is rapping, I'm OJ with your memorabilia, had to steal it back. And I'm just like, And Recession Proof was dope, where Nas is really flexing his storytelling muscles. He's got this, you know, rumbling melody and these nasty snares, and it's fucking dope.
The thing about this project being as long as it was, I'm still trying to digest it, honestly. 17 tracks. I mean, he's dropped so many projects recently. I kind of got into the project really excited. First 3 tracks, super fire. We get to Michael and Quincy, where he's basically comparing himself to the late Michael Jackson and Hit Boy B and Quincy Jones, and just their amazing chemistry, which is obvious throughout this whole project.
Definitely.
I feel like it's really pushing what Nas is capable of. The track that caught me the most was Once a Man, Twice a Child. That was the song where
that's dope.
I just connected, right? Because he's talking about the reality of being vulnerable when you're young, and also being vulnerable when you're old. But he's also specifying that when you have the time to live your life to the fullest, do it. Don't just take chances, because eventually you're going to be vulnerable again. In general, you have to make the most of what you have. I think too many people live in this space where they're like, oh, I'm never going to get anywhere, and they doubt themselves, and then it gets to the point where...
Or on the opposite end, you have the whole...
Don't give a fuck.
Where people lack emotional intelligence or actual drive or goals in life, because they're like, I don't give a fuck. Let me just pop some X at the club and whatever.
And then they look up and they're 45. And
and they still making it, still working at a fast food place because they never bothered to have self-discipline, right? But it's really about that fragility of being young as well as being old. And about the fact that he was like talking about not feeling a woman, but then be like, she might have to change my diaper, so maybe I should be a little nicer, you know? And it's one of those really just brutally honest tracks. It was dope as fuck. I loved how on Fire he samples and he's also making references to Mario Duck Hunt, and like it's just like, as a 90s baby myself and growing up playing those games, I love to hear a goat like Nas rapping about that shit.
Another track that really caught me was Beef. I love it when Nas personifies things. One of the earlier tracks that he had back in the day was Money, where he talks about money. Money, 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 my bitch is my money. He's able to keep up that same flavor in this track, and even harder because beef is one of those things that has been centralized in rap. We talked about it on several episodes. Why is conflict? Why is tension? Why is all of this pain important? And he was even saying at one point that you need war to have peace. Now, I don't know if I 100% agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
But I also like the fact that he took it there. I think that is why Nas is so great, because he challenges your mind. He doesn't just say stuff that you already agree with. He might say some things here and there where you're like, shit, like I don't really agree with that, but let me think about that.
It's not just punchlines, it's life philosophy. Lessons learned from surviving shit, delivered piece by piece to digest it. That was definitely one of my favorite tracks on this album. It caught me right away. You know, when we were first listening to that album first time, and that track caught both of us. So many dope lines off that. First time you heard Nas, you probably heard somebody say that I pick bad beats, but I pick bad freaks. I love that because it's got that, again, that honesty, but then he flips the honesty to flossing.
And I also like how human he makes himself. A lot of rappers get to that point where it's like, I don't enjoy anything but myself, right? I don't listen to anybody but myself. But Nas even admitted, like, when people were coming around, like, man, you heard this dude Kendrick? And he was like, nah, I ain't heard him. And the first time he heard him, he was like, man, this dude's really dope. Or he was like, the first time he heard Biggie, or first time he heard Pac. It is quite a revelation the first time you hear an artist that you genuinely enjoy. Like,
Definitely.
I remember when, you know, we traded artists back and forth, and you put me onto underground stuff I've never heard, and I'm like, oh, that's fire. Or like, for instance, with Nipsey Hussle.
This is what I like about Nas. And this reminds me of something that One Below said to me in person at a Binary Star at one of his shows during South by. We ended up freestyling in the parking lot afterwards, and it was dope as fuck. But One Below told me, he's like, listen, one of the things about me is that I am also a fan of hip hop. I am not just a rapper. Everything that I do in hip hop is to example how I am a fan of hip hop as well. And I think Nas also does that, where he's not like, yo, I'm the GOAT, I'm the GOAT, I'm the GOAT. Like, he has shit like in there, but he's not one dimensional. He's multi-dimensional, and part of what he examples is that how he is also a fan of hip hop. So what you said, though, was a great lead up to my next favorite lines that caught both of us. We had to keep rewinding it to hear what he was saying. Since when did rap leave me so suspended in air? Since Kendrick entered the atmosphere, on 9 I was there.
It just shows that he's aware of everything.
What I love about this album is that there are so many different stories in here that talk about different aspects of hip hop culture. On Legit, he talks about how folks on the street turn into activists, and he goes into that detail. It's too personal to be trite. And he's one of those few artists that have this longevity next to Jay-Z to still stay culturally relevant. But however, not all people think that Nas is relevant, as we know from 21 Savage.
Oh no.
In a clubhouse room, when he was talking about and being asked about who he thinks is relevant.
He's not relevant. He just has a loyal ass fan base.
Thank you.
Nas's response to this was to post like a picture. He didn't even have to reply. And then of course 21 Savage kind of backpedals like, I'm not trying to disrespect, but
as I understand it, what's going on here is a well-funded, deep-pocketed challenger is trying to rise in his industry by attacking and disrespecting a well-established figure. It sounds exactly like the Republican nomination.
It's also a question of, what do you consider relevance? I think the conversation has gotten to the point with hip hop that it's all about record sales. You know, how many followers you got on Twitter and Instagram, and it's
social
like,
media clout is currency.
but he's gonna have fans that are 50, 60, and 16. And I think that that's true. I think that even I noticed that when I first got out here to Austin, I was meeting young people that were, you know, 5, 6, 7 years younger than me. I'm not that old, but I'm like, wait, hold on. How is Nas also your favorite artist and you're almost a decade younger than me?
Yeah.
Relevancy is, it needs to be a question of not just music sales, but your impact. And Nas, can't nobody bring his name up without speaking on his impact.
Look, Nas shaped generations of people.
Yes.
And rappers. You can't really say that just because you haven't been into him, or that you don't really know his backstory, or that you don't really listen to his music, that you haven't also been affected. 21 Savage would not even be here if it wasn't for Nas. Like, like even Kodak Black, who's kind of controversial, jumps onto the fence.
Yes, I was gonna say, who came to his defense?
Like,
oh, Kodak Black.
Come on.
He was like, you say Nas ain't relevant.
Like,
oh man.
What's wrong with you?
He didn't say anything intelligible after that, really.
No.
But he was saying, like, bro, you can't say that. Like, just don't say that.
Yeah.
Like, next time, think about who you talking about before you speak on them, because it was a huge basic backdraft from him saying that. Like, he didn't know he was gonna get that backlash.
And to be honest, when it comes to like the streets, I guarantee you, Nas is gonna be 10 times more likely to already have shooters on your shooters if it came down to that. If he had to. He's not about that, but I'm just saying, if it had to get that way, my vote's with Nas.
Nas had his time in the streets. 21 Savage also had his time in the streets. If you notice, 21 Savage is actually trying to become more like Nas than he is trying to become like some of the other gangster rappers.
Or Jay-Z.
He's moving away from that crazy stuff. He's starting to talk on themes of unity and peace. He's saying that I already been through it. I got shot 5 times in my neck. I almost died. I don't want to be a gangster anymore. He's doing tracks with Pharrell and Tyler the Creator. Look, think about it. Like, he was like one of the most gangster rappers of all time, right? 21 Savage, right? His name is 21 Savage. Now he doing tracks with Tyler the Creator and Pharrell. That's a change.
Next up, it'll be Chance the Rapper, and he'll be singing.
Yeah, but, exactly. So it's clear that he wants to be like Nas, just like everybody else.
Regardless of what 21 Savage's initial thoughts, all you got to do is look at the numbers. Nas released King Disease on Friday, November 11th, and it's the 3rd album in his installment. He already won Grammys for this shit. As far as like relevancy, he debuted top 5 on Billboard 200. King Disease 3 is met with universal acclaim.
Yes.
Is he relevant? Let the numbers speak for themselves.
Absolutely.
What do you think? Is Nas still relevant? Let us know in the comments. And what was your favorite track off King Disease 3? Also, click that bell icon for notifications to make sure you get our new videos when they drop. Like and subscribe and tune in for another episode of From the Jump.
Peace.